Do you read food labels?
It's not a habit of mine, very rare.
Yes, most definitely. Because you have to know what you are consumed in this time, Because that of the things that are made at the factories, they are putting in some little substitutes that are killing off people now.
Me read them, man, I see. Eh? Because I'm a man with diabetic and I have to read the label to know what I eat, what I don't eat.
Not all the time. Nothing. Because something maybe in a rush or something.
No, honestly, I'm not going to lie about it. As I said, I don't read it.
Many people don't. This high-in octagonal-shaped front-of-package warning label is supposed to make it easier for you to not just read, but understand what's in your food. This is what they would look like if used locally. Dr. Andreen Chung is chair of the Heart Foundation.
So what they do is simple. You don't have to calculate anything. You don't have to say, how many grams of this do I need? All you have to know is that there's a warning on this product that says, this has too much of a certain nutrient.
On March 30, a committee chaired by the Bureau of Standards Jamaica voted to adopt the black octagonal label for use in Jamaica. The label won't be on all foods. It's designed to help consumers quickly identify unhealthy foods. Dr. Susan Suarez-Winter is a nutritionist.
In our setting here in the Caribbean, we are concerned about nutrients like high sugars, sodium or salts, the unhealthy fats, so trans fats, saturated fats, or even a nutrient like non-nutritive sweeteners, artificial sweeteners. And so what FOPL warnings do is that they are only placed on products that have excess amounts of these particular nutrients.
The push to use the label is backed by research. Dr. Vanessa Whiteborough was one of the principal investigators for a study conducted in Jamaica between December 2020 and February 2021. The study found consumers are 9 times more likely to identify when a product has excessive nutrients when the high-in octagonal warning label was used in comparison to other front-of-package labels.
Overall, the octagonal warning labels really perform the best in guiding the shoppers in making the best choices in their intention to buy the least harmful products more often, as well as correctly identifying the least harmful option and identifying those products with the nutrients that were in excess in the products that they were shown.
The Highend model was first used in Chile in 2016, often called the Chilean model. It was adopted in Mexico in 2019. Both countries have seen a reduction in the consumption of unhealthy foods. The Jamaican study was supported by the Pan American Health Organization, the University of Technology, and crucially, Jamaica's Ministry of Health.
The particular model that we had advocated and have advocated, which is the black stoplight method, if you will, was advocated in CARICOM, but also in Jamaica, from health perspective, based on the research and studies that have shown that it is simple, it is easy to understand.
It's the simplest one, most effective, most easily visible, most easily understood, the one that is most likely to influence consumer selection, most likely to influence consumer behavior, because more than anything, the key point to understand is that front of package labeling is really a health promotion tool. It's a public health education tool.
Approval seemed certain. At a committee meeting on March 30 this year, only the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association voted against the label. The vote meant it would be easier to choose healthy foods when shopping. But it appears that won't be happening. Won't be happening because on June 4, there was a revote causing somewhat of a revolt among stakeholders. The Heart Foundation of Jamaica has been speaking out against that second meeting in June that reversed Jamaica's support for the Highend model. Deborah Chen is the executive director.
Well, we're very concerned about it, and we do not think that due process was followed. There was a meeting in March, as you said, and the vote 4-1 was in favor of the Black Octagon label. On June the 3rd at about 9:30 in the morning, we got an email that said there would be a meeting. The Bureau of Standards were facilitating a meeting of the National Mirror Committee, which included the Heart Foundation, at I believe it was 2 o'clock the following afternoon. There was no agenda. When representatives from the various organizations turned up at the meeting, it transpired that there was a revote. So we were taken completely by surprise.
There's no explanation for why this happened. There's no reason for it. It's highly regular. There was a vote, and that vote and the results of that vote should have been sent off to prosecute in order for it to be recorded as Jamaica's vote. We have no explanation as to why this revote took place.
We protested. We wrote letters to the Minister of Health. We copied the Ministry of Industry and various officials. We got an email from the Bureau of Standards saying that it was referred to the government of Jamaica and the cabinet, and that it was being considered at that level. Ultimately, we were told that Jamaica will be voting against the standard.
It would almost appear that we are putting consumers' health, at the back burner in order for us to continue to satisfy a small number of individuals who seem to would have been inflicted or basically affected by us being able to implement proper labeling for our consumers.
So what happened in the 66 days from March 30 to June 4 that triggered the revote? And why a revote when the committee had already voted? The Bureau of Standards facilitated the committee meetings, Julia Duhay and Philippa O'Connor.
So that March 30th vote also was a preliminary vote because we were at the time also awaiting a response from the government. So given the nature of this particular issue, we thought it important that the government would have a combined response or coordinated response, because this is people's health and nutrition. And we knew that at the level where discussions were at in terms of the impact on the society, we had engaged the three ministries, Ministry of Health and Wellness, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Industry, just to get, as Ms. O'Connor said earlier, one of the stakeholder group is the government, a big stakeholder group.
So wouldn't the final vote, Ms. Duhay, be going to the final decision be going to cabinet to make a decision on any event?
Yes, I presume.
Right. So why would we need them at that level? Because the final thing would be going to them already, because it would then defeat the process to be sending it to for cabinet to decide on, if you'd have them already involved at that level.
There was a split government there was a split vote, sorry. The vote from the government was not. We didn't have a unified vote from the government. And therefore we wanted to ensure that we had that unified decision.
The intention of that meeting was not to facilitate a revote. I want to backtrack a bit that the front of package labeling, Mr. Dennis, we have been discussing this standard from 2018. And we're still not finished. So you can realize that it has been highly contentious. And so what we have done, or what we did at that June 4th meeting, is that we said to the stakeholders, hey, you cast a vote on March 30. We are now finalizing the draft, and we are now finalizing our position to relate to CARICOM. We want you to tell us the position that you had on March 30. Has it changed, or is it the same? So that was the intention of the June 4th meeting. Unfortunately, when we met and we regrouped on June 4, some stakeholders, they changed their vote. And the outcome differed from the meeting that we had on March 30.
You mentioned that it wasn't for a revote, but yet that question was asked if their position is the same or has changed. The Heart Foundation, for example, has said that they were taken by surprise by the revote, because as it turned out, it was indeed a revote, even though you say that was not the intention. So why exactly was the meeting called?
I want to also respond to that as well. When we met on March 30, we did indicate to the members of the National Mirror Committee that we will be meeting again post getting a response from the different ministries that we named earlier. The initial date that we had set for that meeting was May 11. But by May 10th, we had not gotten any response from those respective ministries. And so the NMC members, they were duly informed that the second meeting for May 11 would have been rescheduled to another date pending the feedback from these ministries. And so that meeting that should have been on May 11 was actually held on June 4.
Stakeholders are suspicious of the sequence of events and believe the Ministry of Industry interfered with the vote.
And it almost seems as if it's a consistent trend that the ministries, departments, or agencies responsible for doing the research presents the research. It is in contradiction to possibly what others have as far as their feelings are concerned, because they may feel that this is a bad time for this to happen, because they feel that industry would be affected. But feelings cannot overcome the data. It cannot overcome the science.
We do not support that vote. The matter of public, of front of pack labels is a public health issue. It's not a trade or a Ministry of Industry and Commerce issue. It would appear to us that the Ministry of Industry and Commerce are overstepping, and that somehow the Ministry of Health have been put into a back seat.
And why are they heading this initiative? This is a public health initiative, and it really should be run by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. So I don't think that it's going to be fair to consider the standards in the way that we're doing now.
After the March 30 vote, the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association began a lobby. Jerome Miles is the deputy president.
What the JMA did was to make our position clear to everyone. I wouldn't call it lobbying. I don't know if we have any power over the Bureau of Standards or any of the other bodies. We did meet and write to the minister, which is standard when we have a position.
Sorry, which minister is this?
Minister of Industry.
Right to say what, sorry?
To put our position, the position that I'm putting forward here.
The reversal of the vote of the National Consumers League and the Consumer Affairs Commission CAC is noteworthy. Both are listed as consumer representatives on the committee. Michael Diamond was president of the league and supported the model in the March vote.
The information that we had at that time supported front of package warning labels, and I would say that our partners, PAHO, Heart Foundation of Jamaica, Healthy Caribbean Coalition, the advocacy of the region, all is in favor of front of package warning labels. So what transpired from then until the June vote is not, I'm unaware of that.
So, what changed? Mr. Diamond stepped down as president before June's revote. The person who voted for the Consumers League was Trevor Samuels, the current PRO and the former president.
We voted against, no, not voted against. We didn't vote against anything. We wanted some more varieties. That's what it. I think the vote was more neutral than anything else. We wanted a better variety in terms of what else is there, what other colors are there. In terms of what the research was showing, then I don't think enough information was disseminated to the league and other people of what exactly the preference was the scientific research was showing.
Mr. Samuel's vote has not gone down well with members of the league. Joyce Campbell is the current administrator and a 5-time former president.
That vote should not have been. We should have voted along with the Heart Foundation and the NGOs, right? Mr. Samuels voted along with the governmental people.
Mr. Samuels conceded that he actually supports the Chilean model but didn't fully understand the issues at the time he voted. He also appeared unaware that Jamaica's vote had already been submitted to CROSQ, the CARICOM regional organization for standards and quality.
The findings by UTEC and some other people were that the Octagon was the most effective of the other ones that we're thinking about, that were on the table. And I think that was what was, was not conveyed to us at the time. But it does seem as if since that time, the consensus and the leaning was towards the black Octagon, whatever it is, showing the high-end contents of each food. And therefore, we didn't have any objections in the long run.
Except the vote by the Consumers League was already submitted against implementing the model.